we're tripping on two wheels again. The destination? Nova Scotia. Neale's back, and this time he brought his 13-year-old son Patrick along for the ride. That means my son Sam is not the kid anymore.
Having him along gives me a sense of new responsibility to make sure that all of the crazy things that happened to me as the kid on the previous Trippin' on Two Wheels don't happen to him.
Come on, who the man? And I'm Dennis, the man with the plan. Tripmaster D.
We made it in! We may not make it out. Neale buried his bike. We flew into Halifax, which is the biggest city in Nova Scotia, kind of the gateway to the rest of the province.
This is the hub for the province here.
It's the biggest city, but it's still really kind of just a big town. And it has this wonderful feel, it's a big harbor and container ships and, a lot of commerce goes on there.
You look out and there's some really, really hardy looking work ships out there, trawlers, container haulers.
But it's still got this really nice vibe.
Look at that little island with the lighthouse.
You get this almost European feeling.
This is kind of a lot like England, isn't it? Some of the architecture and the idea of the way things work.
Yet there is a North American beauty that remains.
It's gonna be tough to leave Halifax, but Cape Breton awaits.
We got up today and we left from the Lord Nelson Hotel in Halifax, and I really dug the place. There's this sense of history, of class.
It's beautiful.
And BMW supplied us with their flagship bike, the K1600 GTL.
Once we got onto the open road, it's just a breeze. I love this bike. That's the most comfortable bike I've ever ridden.
It is a luxury cruiser.
We're not about burning up the asphalt, which these things will do, by the way, but we're really doing 100 miles a day, 150, because we want to experience the province. Nova Scotia is just beautiful. So we took off and had this great haul up to Pictou, which is where Nova Scotia was founded.
We're right in the heart of New Scotland, and we really learned why it's called New Scotland today.
We went to the Heritage Museum.
Very cool place. There was the Hector, which was the ship, the replica of the ship.
Which was carrying 200 Scottish farmers that settled this land and made it their home.
We're going down to the hull. We're going to go see where the 200 passengers live. Ahoy there, matey.
This is kind of quite the climb in here.
It was really amazing how cramped everything was.
So there's about 50 bunks. They must have taken shifts on sleeping in the bunks, possibly.
In this day and age, we think it's tough if we get on a 4-hour flight cross country. And these people had to deal with an 11-week voyage where there's disease, hunger, thirst, death.
I'm out of here. Yipe!
Well, hopefully. Maybe. Try that in a storm.
But they made it, and they established a base here on Nova Scotia, and it all began in Pictou.
There's a pace of life going on here in Pictou, and just quiet and calm. All right, guys, hold position for me. Oh, beautiful. Well, you're not, but the shot is.
We had a lovely lunch there. We toured around. It was just really, really nice.
Taking a leisurely pace is a nice thing. We found this fantastic place for lunch today.
Carvers Cafe and Pub.
Beauty, eh?
Good spot, lots of music.
The delicacy is the lobster sandwich.
You go to Nova Scotia, you gotta eat lobster. You just gotta do it. What else are you gonna have? You're gonna have a tuna melt? Tuna melt?
Yeah, I don't do lobster.
You don't do lobster?
I do not, no.
I see.
I grew up in England, a country with food with no flavour.
Then the owner realizes he knows who Dennis is, so of course he comes out.
I am so honored.
Hey, my pleasure,
I've been watching your show for ages.
We were kind of in the middle of nowhere and someone recognized Dennis Gage.
Wait, this is really cool. And I've seen your shows in Europe, traveling around.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, it's just somebody knows him, and it's gonna be weird.
And then we headed on out, just a bit out of town, to Pictou Lodge, and this is where we are, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, it's just a wonderful place. We're right on the water, lovely cottages.
This place is pretty swanky.
It's awesome.
I am very much enjoying this trip, and it's only day one, and it can only get better.
I couldn't be happier with the way today went.
I got it now. Here we go. Forward. Whoa!
We're gonna bask in the success of day one and hope for the best on day two. Once again, Tripmaster D has come through.
The Pictou Lodge last night was pretty cool, I gotta say.
Fantastic scenery, amazing food. I mean, for dinner last night and breakfast this morning was just outstanding.
Sitting there at breakfast, just looking across the water with the view.
Beautiful place, but we needed to get on the road. So we fired up the beamers and headed toward Cape Breton, which was really the mission here, the goal.
We've had a day to get used to the bikes that we're riding, but just to kind of get into the ride, how the bike is feeling, how I interact with the machine. I really like just to get on open road and just kind of cruise.
And it was a really nice ride all along from Pictou through New Glasgow. And then finally we got to the Canso Causeway, which got us on to Cape Breton, I guess Cape Breton Island actually.
One of the big things on the itinerary today was the Canso Causeway.
Cape Breton ahead. Right across the causeway.
I'm sort of, waiting for the epic music. We're gonna go across the causeway. We're leaving one world and we're entering another. Maybe Mel Gibson's gonna be making a speech and a bunch of natives are gonna be running down through the valley.
To be honest, it was really just a road with a short bridge that spanned a canal, and you just, kind of went over that bridge and, well, that was it.
But crossed over that and boom, we're on Cape Breton Island. It was picture perfect. The ride was just stunning, incredible shorelines and farmland and rugged coast, and you'd see these cliffs going down into the ocean. It was almost hard to focus on what you were doing, and you kind of needed to focus.
Interesting morning. I don't know that two 25-mile blocks looked alike.
It feels like Nova Scotia belongs to us on this trip.
Very lightly trafficked roads, and I think it speaks to the harshness here.
We've been lucky so far. Conditions here can change in a flash, and for that reason, you really need to be prepared.
They have some weather up here when they do have it.
I think today capped it all for high winds.
The wind was really strong.
It was really gusty.
Trees were literally bent backwards in places.
And the wind would really change on a whim. It would blow this way and then it would blow that way. And you really had to be on your guard and make sure you were really on top of your riding.
This is probably the most nervous I've been on a motorcycle on a Trippin episode because I've got Patrick on the back. I don't know if it's the extra weight or what, but we're really being pushed around.
I couldn't imagine doing this trip on any other motorcycle.
I think being on the K1600 GTL, the thing's pretty meaty. It sits squat down to the floor.
These things are built for these conditions.
A smaller bike would have...
I felt that I was really tunneling through the wind.
If I was riding alone, I probably wouldn't pay attention to it. But, you know, riding with my son, I'm a little bit on edge today, which is, you know, normally I'm class clown and throttle's pinned and I'm out misbehaving.
Boy, and you talk about a role reversal. I mean, Neale is like the quintessential bad boy, and if somebody's gonna lock the front brake and smoke the back tire till you can't see the bike anymore, or come careening into a parking lot and lock the back up and just, you know, like stop like right in front of you, that's Neale.
Don't be jealous now, Dennis.
It's a talking nose!
I'm assuming the role of Dennis today. Neale's growing up. It's a sad thing to say, isn't it? You know.
Have space aliens taken over your body?
It's pretty cheesy. Yeah, it's really cheesy. You know what they say about guys with big noses, don't you? They have big noses. We do a lot of cheese. One of Dennis's fans. Boy, do we do some cheese. Don't do this at home, kids.
We're headed toward Inverness. Again, how Scottish can you get? But we stopped along the way at the Glenora Distillery, and time was ticking away. And I think it was probably about 2 o'clock by the time we got to the distillery.
From the get-go, you pass through this arched gate, and there's this winding road that leads up to this striking building.
Our main mission was food, but this place just looked so cool. It was a must-stop place.
It's really impressive. Apparently, it's the oldest single malt whiskey distillery in North America.
When you're in North America, there's always a legion of fans that spot Dennis.
Nice ride, huh? Is that you?
Yeah.
You look marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. There you go, love.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You really feel like you're at the end of the earth here, but still, people recognize him. They recognize him in this bar outside Inverness, Nova Scotia.
It adds to the circus a bit, you know, we're always juggling some sort of stuff on these trips. It's not like we can just go in and eat lunch. I mean, that's never gonna happen.
And it was time to get back on the bikes and get on to where we're staying tonight.
So we left the Glenora Distillery and rode on to Inverness.
The roads are a little bit rougher too, because I think the winters are a bit rougher, which makes for rough roads. It didn't matter that we had some potholes and this and that. That's another reason these Beamers are amazing, because I tell you, that suspension just, it dampens everything out, because they're just like, and you don't even know it.
We went down to Inverness Beach, and honestly, I felt really at home.
It is picturesque. Oh, it's beautiful. Man, and look at the island out there.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the families and all the people that are enjoying the sunshine and laying out at the beach, and I'm like, you know what? This is where I belong. It's a beach vacation, but everyone is still as pasty as I am.
We still had probably about a half-hour ride. So back on the bikes, out through Inverness.
The traffic died down even more. The scenery just got more beautiful. I guess we're getting closer and closer to the Cabot Trail.
It's a legendary, one of the most beautiful drives in North America, actually in the world.
Right when we hit the Cabot Trail sign, we made a left for Bellicote.
You can go clockwise or counterclockwise on this, and we decided to do this thing clockwise, go up along the western shore.
We're riding down from Inverness, coming towards Bellicote. We're passing all these small fishing villages, all these harbors with marinas and sailboats and fishing boats. You know, it's just really, really cool. I mean, honestly, it's just cool. We come upon Bellicote. We're staying at the Island Sunset Resort.
Yeah, Dennis, I hate to say it, he pulled it off again.
And they're cottages overlooking the water. Again, we're up on a bluff.
We're staying in this great place. We're about to enjoy some delicious lobster. We're right on the coast. Right outside our door is the Atlantic Ocean.
We were just out there during sunset and we got to take some beautiful, beautiful pictures. It was absolutely stunning.
tomorrow we're heading up around the top. Our destination will be Ingonish.
Word from Tripmaster D is that it's the Highlands tomorrow. The scenery changes again.
Along the way, we'll be riding these cliffs and stuff.
Which could be a little bit of trouble.
We're taking on the Cabot Trail tomorrow, day 3, so we'll see what's in store for us.
Holy smoke, where did I get that thing?
Well, that's not good.
Wow, day 3.
If we were to pick days on Trippin, and there have been some majestic days in some very majestic parts of the world, today was probably one of my all-time favorites.
So we're riding out of Bellicote. We take off, I'm in the lead, Sam's behind me, Neale and Patrick. Look back, and then it's just Sam. I'm like, hey, where's Neale?
Dad was complaining about the wind pushing him around yesterday.
With Neale comes mayhem.
I don't often get nervous on a motorcycle. I mean, it's my job. I've just done it for so long. I mean, if I am nervous, generally something's not right with me or the bike, and I just thought it was the wind or maybe having Patrick.
So we pulled over, and he caught up to us and goes, I'm getting a warning sensor on my panel. It was a low pressure.
I have a tire issue, I think. I've got a low bar.
And he's kind of parked perpendicular to me, and I'm like, hey man, it's your back tire. I mean, it's noticeably low.
The warning light's flashing.
I'm not seeing anything.
So it was a tire pressure issue that was affecting the handling. It's losing air. Here it is.
Oh yeah, that's a nail.
All right, I'm gonna roll back to the gas station. I'll be back in a bit.
Life on the road.
We went back to the gas station that we had filled up at this morning. Lovely fellow called John. I just said, hey, do you think there's any chance you could patch the tire for me? Oh, yeah, no problem. So I just had this great interaction. He dives to the job, yanks out the nail for me. I had a big old piece of metal in there. Holy smoke, where did I get that thing?
How in the world did this get stuck in the tire?
That's a pretty big old boy, too.
Luckily, the serviceman was able to plug it.
Stuff's in a plug. It's off on the side, so I think it should be fine. Beautiful.
That was his first time ever fixing a bike flat, so a little worried.
Well, sealed it for now. Hopefully it won't give you any trouble.
What do I owe you, John?
$5.
Yeah, he tried to charge us $5. I gave him 10. You don't mind doing an American one, do you?
No. Yours is worth more than mine.
Well, no, yeah. That's worth a lot to us, I'd say. Now we can continue. Lucky that it happened just a couple of miles from a filling station. We're going to ride up to the Highlands today.
Oh yeah, over around the park?
Yeah.
Once you get into the park, it's real dangerous. Watch for moose. Be real careful for moose.
Careful for moose.
Yeah. Young fella here last week peeled the roof right off his car, him and his girlfriend driving down here just before Shetty Camp. And hitting one of those would not be much good.
Oh my Lord, I hop back on the bike, the handling's better. I suppose because it's a new bike, I wasn't thinking, oh, there's a tire issue. And you want to see what our perpetrator was?
Dad pulls it out, and I see Sam and Dennis like, whoa.
He pulls out this about 3-inch long steel pin.
I mean, that is a lot of nail to get in a tire, huh?
Well, there's not even a point on it, so the thing must have almost been sticking up somehow.
It had gone all the way in there.
Wow, yeah, that's a souvenir.
Souvenir,
yeah.
Nova Scotian souvenir.
And in theory, we were good to go after that.
All right, let's ride.
All righty.
Once we all knew we were all okay, we left for Shetty Camp.
In a few minutes, really, we come upon the town of Shetty Camp.
We plugged the tire, but you never know. So we were looking for an auto parts store, and lo and behold, there's one. And we pull up, go in and buy a can of aerosol goo that you can put in there in case you spring another leak. So how do you pronounce this town?
Today on the episode of Dennis Pronouncing Foreign Words, we're going to suck up about 2/3 of the day while he gets this one right.
How do you say this city?
Randazzo.
Randazzo.
Randazzo. Yes.
That's
Randazzo. Yes.
This is Badenoch and Strathspey, the area.
Badenoch
Badenoch and Strathspey is the area.
Badenoch and Strathspey.
Yes.
Pretty good, huh?
Good.
How's that said, Dennis?
Huh?
How do you say it?
Cheticamp. But in French, it's Cheticamp. But this is a family show, so it's Cheticamp.
We're setting you up.
Sicilia.
Sicilia.
Sicilia. Ronda El Toro di Lidia.
Don't try.
Oh, great.
The fellow at the water park store said you've got to go out and have a look at the lighthouse and look back at Cheticamp.
I think the flat tire was meant to be, honestly, because if we would never have gone to Napa, then the guy would have never told us to go to the lighthouse.
And it turned out it really was off the beaten path. I mean, it wasn't a paved road. I must have missed that in the description of the lighthouse, but we get on there and pavement ends and we're on dirt.
The dirt road was really rough and bumpy.
And we're on these luxury touring K1600 GTLs doing kind of BMW GS type stuff with these big bikes, you know, bounding down this gravel road.
I saw old Tripmaster D back there piloting the boat on dirt roads. I mean, you know, here he is on his 800-pound beach cruiser.
In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, gravel road, plug tire, I don't know.
I'm sure my dad is just, you know, nervous, maybe even a little angry.
For the first time on the trip, there was a little steam.
This is kind of a new element to the journey. They're touring bikes, and they're luxury touring bikes. And, you know, some would say that they belong on pavement, but it was kind of cool to take them out of their element and test them out on a different surface.
And lo and behold, you see the lighthouse.
We get there and the whole lighthouse was fenced out, but guarded well by a herd of cattle.
You know, cows, calves, bulls. There were 3 or 4 bulls. Oh, lighthouse guarded by cattle. You don't see that every day.
So here we are, it's noon. We've actually covered a whopping 13 kilometers at that point.
I think we need to make up some time here. Let's go.
And soon after leaving Cheticamp, we come to the Highland National Park. We get into the park, and that's when it opens up.
I mean, like instantly, it is just breathtaking.
The minute you ran to that corner and came down to that park, it's just like suddenly flicked a switch and colored everything another brighter shade.
It was like nothing else.
It's more mountainy, more twisty roads.
You're seeing these majestic cliffs and just these breathtaking views. Like, wow.
This is it. This was the highlight of the Cabot Trail. The road is just carved right through this cliff. And so you have the cliffs on your right, and it falls off, and there is just the bluest ocean.
It's unbelievably blue.
There were a couple of times when we pulled over at some of the scenic views, and we were just like a little bit speechless. I mean, we were just like, wow.
Wow. And he goes like,
wow, wow.
That's all he could say. It was like, wow. Because it was spectacular.
I mean, you don't know what to say. I mean, it's like, it's so visually stimulating.
And we're sitting there and we meet some bikers.
You're just out and about today, or are you on a loop?
No, we're just down here for 3 or 4 days. Just come to Cape Breton, do the trails, eat a little crab and lobster.
Yeah, if you're gonna be here, you might as well eat the crab. And you know, what else are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, you can't beat it.
And I heard him say something that I probably will never forget. He goes,
"This is what it's all about. Bikers are just friends that haven't met yet."
That's right. Exactly.
I thought that was amazing.
We have a whole pile of new friends now.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, Canada.
Okay, guys.
All right, again, ride safe, guys.
So we get back on the road, and the next pullout is just crowded with people.
You figure that's a good sign. They're probably there for a reason.
Maybe 200, 300 yards away is a bull moose bathing.
It wasn't a moose like standing there. This moose is like out in this lake, and he's like up to his neck. You just see this huge head.
Look at the ears go.
I would call those antlers, actually.
Big, you know, thing there. And
It would submerge its head.
he would like go entirely underwater. And then he'd come up and he'd look, you know, it was pretty cool.
Oh, I dig that. Splash, splash.
Now, you don't see that every day.
There's a big ass moose.
You can only watch a moose so long. I'm kind of hungry.
Do you think there's any food?
There is. There's food in Pleasant Bay, about 15 miles up the road.
That could be pleasant.
It could be Pleasant, the Rusty Anchor, I believe.
Again, reality sets in, we need to take off, and so good thing we got Patrick along because he gives us a push out.
This makes it so much easier.
Now I am known as Reverse because I push Dennis out every time he gets stuck.
You don't need reverse when you have Patrick.
When we're stuck Patrick!
You got a problem?
It's so great. And he just leaps off the bike and there he is pushing us back out.
We took off and rode on.
And then we really hit a fun stretch of road.
As you crested the top, the world just like fell away.
And you just looked down and it was just this serpentine road weaving all the way down.
Just the most unbelievable twisties going down.
I'm holding on to the handlebars, scared for my life.
We got our little adrenaline fix.
And had a lot of fun.
Anytime you're going around super smooth, twisty roads with incredible views on a motorcycle, good day.
And we went all the way down to the Rusty Anchor and pulled in. So we got a little bit of rest and we got back into action. We started heading toward Ingonish.
And it's kind of the final stretch.
It got stunningly beautiful again in a totally different way. Now you've got these bluffs and these cliffs that, you know, run down to the ocean.
Little hidden coves and beaches.
These boulder rivers coming in and you're crossing these bridges and stuff. I mean, it's just gorgeous.
I knew it was going to be rugged, I knew it was going to be really interesting, but I am blown away.
We roll into Ingonish
And ended up here at the Celtic Lodge.
So we just came down at the national park, and I mean, that was just absolutely stunning, breathtaking stuff all the way along the shoreline. And we just ducked off the road now to get into the Celtic Lodge here in Ingonish, and we'll just start to see through the trees. This is some of the coastline we've been seeing, so we're going to get some really stunning views.
It's just got better and better and better, ending here at the Celtic Lodge.
which is this majestic, classic place. You know, I mean, it almost looks like an English manor house. Neale gets out and goes, okay, all right, Trip Master D, pulled it off this time. Come on, come on. Who the man, who the man?
It's a beautiful lodge. It really sucks that we're going to have to kiss Dennis's ass for the whole rest of the trip because he's come through above coming through with this place.
What is he doing to us? Absolutely nothing to complain about. I mean, look what he's got. Stunning views in every direction, beautiful accommodation.
We couldn't have asked for a better place.
Not giving it to him. He can't be trusted. Sammy, I got ours, and it's nice. I'm digging it.
It's kind of been a classic Trippin day today where it's just, we've been in the moment, jokes have been flowing, people have been coming up to see what this crazy mob are getting into, and the scenery has just been going off the hook.
The destination tomorrow is Quebec, but it really isn't far away, so we will end up in Quebec, but we might be somewhere else before that. I really have always wanted to go up to Meat Cove,
I would
Patrick.
not do that.
Hey, up.
What on earth's going on? We haven't had this situation on a Trippin episode before.
But we learned Meat Cove is about an hour in and an hour out off the main path, and the last part of that's gravel road. Not that we aren't experienced at that now. Oh, famous last words. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow, who knows?
God, don't say that.
You're really nuts about that.
We have a problem here.
Don't go down there.
Escape from Meat Cove.
We woke up in the morning with the sunrise, and I sort of gathered the team and said, hey, I got an idea. I say, down in English, we double back, we go up to Meat Cove.
Yes.
It's the end of the road.
Meat Cove is technically almost the northernmost point in Nova Scotia. Could you live with yourself if you didn't do it?
I probably couldn't. So Meat Cove it is. We'd set the plan, we're doing Meat Cove, and we're still trying to get a little bit of info.
And we met Deborah. We were talking about going to Meat Cove.
She goes, oh my God, you don't want to do that.
You're nuts.
There's no guardrails, it's a dirt road.
You're gonna get hurt.
Just those roads.
You'll never come back alive.
You're really nuts about that.
She was honestly very worried about us.
Let's ride safe though.
So far, things have been just completely smooth sailing. Something had to give. And I had this feeling in me that things were gonna change today.
God, don't say that.
There's this mist that's kind of prevailing and blowing across the water and kind of gives you this foreboding sense.
It's very surreal.
And so we fire up the bikes, and by the time we actually hit the starter, you could see this stuff, and it was moving past you.
So we set our sights for Meat Cove and made our way there.
It's a ways. It was about an hour in and about an hour out.
And as we start to get closer to Meat Cove, it starts clearing up.
We made it close to Meat Cove without any problems, but then we hit the dirt road.
It's like the Highlands, only instead of nice, smooth paved road, it's dirt, bumps, and rocks.
And when you're on dirt roads, with these bikes, you have to be a little more careful. As we're going along, the quality of those dirt roads goes way down.
The road's really bad.
And like yesterday, I was holding on, hoping that we didn't hit a bump and go flying off the cliff.
And then we're on this 45-degree angle. I guess it was a road, but barely.
The road was pretty hair-raising. I mean, it was just straight in and down, and I shot in before anyone had a chance to think about it.
And it was tough, but we made it down without dropping any of the bikes.
That alone was like...
And we stop at the beach before you got to the shoreline. So Dad dismounts to sort of inspect the terrain. Neale and I, we stay on the bikes. I turn off my motorcycle. Neale's is still running. And Dad walks out there and he says, boy, it's pretty loose.
It was bad out there, so I'm motioning, stay back. You guys, just stay there. Don't, hey, up.
And Dad decides, I can make it to the beach.
Neale turns to me. He turns to me and he says,
we can make it.
With Patrick on the back, he just starts going.
Apparently to Neale, this means this.
I think when he goes, no! Like it resonates. Tash is going backwards. It's like Shrek or something. No!
And so Neale, being Neale,
promptly stick my K1600 800-pound luxury touring bike axle deep in sand and rocks somewhere in the middle of a beach. We have a small problem here.
Well, that's why I didn't want you coming out here, man. He buried that thing.
Tripmaster D was a little outraged.
Does anybody have a temperature gauge for Dennis's blood pressure right now?
I can always tell when he's a little stressed. his charm instantly evaporates and his mustache begins to quiver.
Hey, you're putting her deep, man.
Too deep.
Way deep now.
A lot of times with a motorcycle, the solution is, if in doubt, hit the throttle. You know, it'll either get you out of trouble or it will end the suspense. And so that's Neale's way of thinking, hit the throttle, which is what he did, which then took the back wheel even farther down, was almost up to the hub. And I said, you know, again, stop. You know, you go any farther, we ain't never getting this thing out of here.
Oh boy, you know, I'm not.
Reverse!
You're gonna come back and you're gonna, if you can.
It's not just a job for reverse. We had to get everyone.
Ready? Go. Keep going, keep moving, keep moving.
Hang on, you're gonna push me off the bike.
Yeah! Keep rolling.
3, 2, 1.
Roll, roll, roll.
Beautiful.
All right, now the same. Don't try to be directly behind it.
Yep.
Hey!
Each time, Neale gives it some gas, buries it. And my dad is just furious.
No, no, don't pull that way. We're going this way.
Going that way, okay.
Luckily, he's venting all of his rage, yanking the bike back and forth rather than yanking Neale's neck back and forth.
Beautiful. Dennis was busily digging little paths for the bikes, and we managed to make a very, very swift, I thought, 27-point turn. And out we shot, really.
We're not out yet, keep going. Woohoo!
We finally got that baby turned around, and we got it out of there. But then the next thing was, we're still down here and we need to be up there. And I wasn't really looking forward to that.
The minute I said, hey, I'll ride those bikes out, everyone was like, yep, okay, on you go. So, because it was a little intimidating. There was a wooden bridge, there wasn't much run, and then very steep.
And my dad's just, you know, and I'm just loving it. I'm thinking, oh man, this is great.
You know, I didn't really sign up for the nature hike today.
Once we get to the top, we had an amazing lunch.
We sat at a picnic bench looking over Meat Cove.
Just chilled, I sort of regrouped. What a magnificent place. It's really an international gathering place.
Absolutely.
All sorts of people here.
We met a lot of very nice people from all over the world.
It was a really eclectic bunch of people that were up there. Tons of motorcyclists. There was Harley riders from French Canada.
Au revoir, bon voyage. Bon voyage, au revoir. Bon voyage.
Canadian people are fantastic.
There were two gents from Newfoundland riding a Buell Ulysses, one of them.
You recognize that bike?
Tom, good to meet you. And yeah, we rode these when we were in Quebec.
Telling us, yeah, a couple years ago.
They're just the nicest people.
And I got talking to the proprietor, a wonderful guy, and he runs the campground there, and they own that property. I can't believe you can own Meat Cove, but they kind of do, I guess. You have a little slice of heaven right here.
It's not hard to look at.
It's not hard on the eyes at all. Justin, thanks, man.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for coming, guys.
Oh,
Much
great,
appreciated.
great to be here, bud. We burned a lot of time once again, as we always do.
It was close to 3 o'clock at this point, and we had to make our way back through Ingonish and onto Bedeck.
The weather quite rapidly changed.
And it got cold. I mean, we were like in a very cold cloud for a while.
I thought that was fitting. It was about time that we experienced a different side of Nova Scotia. We come to this patch of really, really cool twisties. I mean, awesome, awesome corners. And we're shrouded in this mist, in this fog. We didn't really know what was coming next.
We did make a couple stops. There was one that we just couldn't pass up, Green Cove.
And we sat in this rock formation, just took a little breather.
Man, I mean, it's just gorgeous.
And we were this close to relaxation. And Tripmaster D says, all right, that's enough. That's enough. Let's get back on the bikes.
It's over. We have to move.
Yes, there's something more important to be done somewhere else.
You could stop every few miles here. It's just so gorgeous. But I'm like, we're going to Bedeck.
We're coming across what I thought the Canso Causeway should have been. It was like we were kind of on this long spit of land rolling through the mist, and I was expecting to hear the bagpipes.
And all of a sudden, everybody's stopped. And I'm like, why are we stopped?
Lo and behold, we come across a ferry.
I didn't know there was a ferry. Learn something new every day. And it's not like we have a choice.
It crosses probably about a 30-yard wide river.
Sort of surprised Neale isn't going to just try and drive through it.
I think we should drive through if we got enough speed up.
Once we got off the ferry, we kind of just hightailed it to Bedeck.
A little base out of town, we come to the Silver Dart Lodge, which is where we're staying tonight.
Really can't give him any crap about this one either.
Tripmaster D. That's just kind of his style.
Sadly, this is the end.
Overall, just an absolute amazing quality experience.
This is it.
Now it's the return trip.
We got to roll back to Halifax tomorrow.
Got to drop the bikes off, pack our bags, scatter to our four corners of the globe, and put this one to bed.
I'm so glad that we took time out of our busy lives to enjoy life. That's what Trippin' on Two Wheels is.
Come and travel like this. This is living life.
You know, we're doing some pretty cool stuff, and we got some perks in this, and it's a lot of fun.
I mean, it would be very easy to look at this on a certain level and say, hey, it must be great, you know, Dennis is a TV star, I mean, you're a journalist, people give you bikes, people put this together.
What we've experienced on this trip is completely independent from all of that. It's the journey that matters. It's about the sights, it's about the sounds, it's about the smells, it's about that view.
That view doesn't change. I mean, you can stop right down there along the highway and see that view, whether you're riding your bicycle or riding a K1600 GTL.
It doesn't matter who you are or how much money you have. You can experience exactly what we've experienced on this trip by just coming here.
I love doing this. I love riding with Sam. I love riding with Neale, although it's at times stressful. And then now to have his son, Patrick, along was a great experience.
Having Patrick on this trip has been really cool. He's got a bright future ahead of him. He's got a really interesting dad.
Being on this trip with my dad has been phenomenal.
I got a bit of quality time just alone with Patrick, and it really does bring it home to you how important these moments are and how you've just got to...
I couldn't ask for anything better.
I had something happen to me on the second one of these. It was in Sicily. It was the first time Sam had ridden his own bike, and I saw him ahead of me, and I realized that it was over. I mean, it was over. His childhood was kind of over for me. I mean, he was my little boy, and now he's like this young man. And it was really emotional. It really hit me hard, like a sledgehammer.
I'm blessed to have him as my dad. I've learned a lot from him, and he continues to teach me things. I continue to just soak everything up I can. You know, knowledge, experience, but also time.
I think about Dennis back in Sicily when he realized it was the end of the episode and the end of his time with Sam.
And Neale is going to have that same experience. I mean, Patrick's his little boy, and Patrick ain't going to be his little boy much longer. And it's, you know, there is this rite of passage. There's this, you know, it's a circle of life thing.
It's encouraging to see Sam staying with Dennis through Trippin, and obviously they don't spend a lot of time together, but they're very together on these trips.
Man, you want to grab these moments because it changes like that.
And I'm sure Neale is going to lead his son into some really hair-raising adventures. And for his sake. I hope we do more Trippin on Two Wheels.
And I hope to be a part of it, right in there, and whenever it is, I'm ready.
I cherish these moments, and I just hope it never ends.
Hi.